Hello, this is the how to play video for Monsters and Knights. I want to start by introducing you to the different cards in the game. I'm going to start by showing you the monsters. First we have the bite-sized monster, and he's a picky eater. He'll only eat the blue knights. So then we have the mid-sized monster. This guy has not acquired the taste for a red knight, so he'll only eat the blue knights and the black knights. Then we have the supersized monster, and he's the biggest of them all, and he'll eat any colored knight. These are the point values on the cards. Then we have the knights. We have the blue knight, and he's like the rookie. He's still training, so he can only slay the bite-sized monster. Then we have the black knight. He's our middleman. He doesn't have enough training to slay the supersized monster, so he can slay the mid-sized monster and the bite-sized monster. Then we have our red knight, who this guy has mastered slaying any size monster. Then we have a couple special monsters and knights. We have the hungry monster, and a hungry monster will eat any colored knight even during the day, and I'll explain what that means in just a second. Then we have the monster slayer, and he can slay any size monster even at nighttime. And these two guys, the hungry monster and monster slayer, can be slayed or eaten by any of these guys. Well, any knight can slay this hungry monster, and any monster can eat this knight. And then our villager, who is a stretch goal for the illustration, is a negative point value. And the way the villager works is a knight will save a villager before slaying a monster because it's his duty, and a monster will eat a villager before eating a knight because it's fast food. It's just easier. So then the night and day card. So this is how this works, is the dealer will operate this card. He flips it at the beginning of his turn, and on your turn, basically monsters can only eat knights at nighttime, all the basic monsters, and then the same for the basic knights can only slay monsters during the daytime. And so that's where our hungry monster and monster slayer exceptions come in here. So these are the cards in the game, and now I'm going to explain how to play the game. Hello, this is the How to Play Monsters and Knights Casual Mode video tutorial. I have gone ahead and dealt out a hand to 3 players to simulate a 3-player game. This is the remaining cards in the deck. What's going to happen is the dealer will play first. He'll operate the night and day card. He will have the opportunity to look at his hand before he decides whether or not to start the game at night or daytime, and he will decide to start the game at nighttime. So then what you will do is take the remaining cards. There will be at least 1 card remaining even in a 6-player game. The game can be played from 2 to 6 players. You'll deal out 7 cards in a 2 to 4-player game. A 5-player game, you will deal out 6 cards to each player, and in a 6-player game, you'll deal out 5 cards to each player. You can also play the game in teams of 2 or teams of 3. Teammates will combine their total scores, but everybody will still, the game will still play the same. Each player will have a turn. So you take the remaining deck and you'll take the top card, remaining cards in the deck, and you take the top card and place it face up in the center of the table. This will be a deck of live monsters and knights, where the monsters and knights can be slayed or eaten by any player on their turn, along with any other players, monsters and knights that are in play. So this player that's playing first will then decide what he will play. You will play a monster or a knight each turn. You will use your monster or knight to try to slay or eat another monster or knight. So right now we have a blue knight that is in play under nobody's control, and I will play at nighttime a monster who can eat a knight if I choose to, and I will choose to play a mid-sized monster and eat this knight. So this knight will be placed to the side, and I will score that at the end of the round. So the next player's turn, he would need right now a monster slayer to slay this knight
because it is nighttime and the regular knights cannot slay monsters at nighttime. So he may choose to play the villager, which he can play at day or nighttime. Now, the way the villager works, this player unfortunately is going to have to find out that no matter what he plays, a knight or a monster, he's going to have to either save or eat this villager. So he will play, based off looking at his hand real quick, I think the best move would play a blue knight, save the villager. That's going to count against him in scoring. He'll put it aside. It comes back around to the dealer's turn. So now he'll flip over the day card. Now what he'll do with this monster is he'll place it on top. If there was another card underneath, he'll place it on top of the live monsters and knight stack. And then he will play a new monster and knight. Now he could play a knight to slay that monster, and that'd probably be his best move. He'd play that knight, slay this monster. Black knight can slay a mid-sized monster and place it up to the side to score at the end of the round. It'd be the next player's turn, and he will play. He would need a hungry monster right now to eat any of these knights that are in play, and he does not have a hungry monster. So right now he could play a black knight in hope that his opponent doesn't have a hungry monster. But I think the safe bet with having so many cards still in his hand, he might play this bite-sized monster. So that's in play on his control. Now, since he can't use this card, or he can't use this bite-sized monster to eat a knight because it's daytime, what happens instead of staying in his control is he'll place it on top of the monsters and knight stack. So now if he was able to eat a knight or use his card on his turn, then he'd leave it in play under his control, and if there was another card on top of the monsters and knight stack, that would be the one that would be able to be slayed or eaten by a player on his or her turn. So it comes back around to this player's turn. So his knight stayed in through the round without being eaten, so that's going to go now on top of the monsters and knight stack. Now he will make his move here. Let's see. So I've played through the remainder of each player's hand, and these are the monsters and knights in which each player has managed to slay and eat, as well as any villagers that they had to save or eat. And now they would score the round. So basically, you would take the separate your monsters and separate your knights and add up the total. So this player would have 3, 6, 7, 800 points in knights. That's a lot for this round. And 3, 6, 7, 8 in monsters as well for this round. So they take the highest of the total, and so that'd be 8 anyways for this player. He'd score 800 points. This player would receive 2, 4 for his knights, or 3 for the monsters. So his highest total would be for the knights. He'd score 400 points. And then this player, he'd separate the villager and or the fair maiden as well, and they'd put those cards aside because they're added or subtracted towards their greater total of monsters slayed or knights eaten. So in this case, this player's greatest total would be his knights. He'd have 400 points for his knights, and then in this case he'd subtract 100 for his villager, so he'd score 300 points. You'd then take all the cards, put them all together, and the deal would pass off to the right. The next player would shuffle up the cards, deal them out. He would be the dealer and the player playing first in the next round. The game would be played until one player reached 5,000 total points. So each round now you're going to continue to do the same, add your highest total of either knights slayed or monsters eaten, and continue to add it to your total. That's basically how to play the casual mode of Monsters and Knights. The advanced mode of Monsters and Knights, there is a slight difference. It adds a little bit more strategy, and I'll explain how that's played quickly. I'm just going to put 3 cards out real quick, and for each player. So basically, the difference would be, say, this player is the dealer. He starts the game off at nighttime. You place the card face up. he's gonna play a red knight and he's gonna slay this monster. Instead of just automatically taking this card, putting it aside to score it, what he's gonna do is he's gonna, actually this would have to be, let's say he was daytime. I made a mistake already. It's daytime. Knights slay monsters during the day. This was the card that was revealed off the top of the deck. He decides to slay this monster. Instead of putting it aside and scoring, he places it underneath his knight. Now, he cannot score this point until the beginning of his next turn, which he would then put it aside. So that means his knight has to stay in play an entire turn before he can put this aside to score at the end of the round. So basically each player would continue on. Say this player now being daytime, he'd need a hungry monster to get rid of this guy right now. He doesn't have it. Same with this player. Well, then he'd have to play something anyway. So say he plays a black knight, which would go to the center of the stack, considering he can't use him to do anything. So then this player, the same thing. He'd need a hungry monster. He doesn't have it, so he would probably play a black knight, and that would go to the center of the stack. And it comes back around this player's turn, and red knight did make it through an entire turn. Being the dealer, he'd operate the knight in day card, flip the card. This card could then be collected, scored for points at the end of the round, and his knight would go back on top of the stack, and he would play a new monster in knight. And so that's the difference with the advanced mode. And the other difference is you would only score to 2,500 points because the gameplay rules offer the opportunity or the ability for other players to try to stop players from scoring points. And this creates a little bit more strategy, and that is basically the difference with the two different modes. And I'm at a loss for words. I hope you understood the how to play and the two different ways to play. And thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you support Monsters and Knights so you can get the Villager card and the Fair Maiden illustrated.